Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Jesse Johnson with us today. He's founder and CEO at Champion Empire Marketing Toolkit. He's also a speaker for 1,000+ events. The guy is in Spokane. We talked about one of my favorite human beings in Spokane, Ben Greenfield. Reason why I'm walking on this treadmill right now. It's going to be a fun podcast, folks. So this one is brought to you by podper.com. If you want to start your podcast, scale it, or monetize it, go to podper.com, or hack your brain with Qualia Mind. Go to neurohacker.com/CEO wisdom for better focus, memory, and drive as a busy CEO. Jesse, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Charles. And you mentioned it that I'm a multiple CEO and founder, but I think also with father of 6 children, so a single dad with the kiddos, and never lack of an adventure in our world. So when you're talking about some of the biohacking, I can definitely relate to the need to stay energetic and on the move in the best way possible.
Wow, 6 children. So how do you handle that? Do you have help from nannies, or how does one manage 6 children at a time?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to running like a business. You get the right systems in place and the right support structures or team. And I think that's really what a lot of the success of our household has been dictated by, which is just that systems mindset. The intriguing part of it, though, and is the story of going from a single guy, 20 years old, to a father of 4 in 6 months. So now, with my oldest being out of the house, 22 years old, down to 7-year-old twins, you learn a lot in over a decade of parenting 4 or more kids at a time. That is very applicable to leadership, even in business.
So you said 4 children in 6 months. How does that physically happen?
Yeah, I ended up after some down life events and being in a negative spot in my life, decided I was going to clean myself up, and that's when I ended up getting a second job for some accountability. I met a gal who had a son. Then I adopted her niece and nephew and took in her 16-year-old little sister. So went from 20-year-old single guy to father of 4 in 6 months with a 2-year-old, 7, 8-year-old, and a 16-year-old all under the same roof.
Whoa, that's a big move right there. Why did you take life by the nuts like that? What prompted you to take such a challenge?
Yeah, well, I one of the primary influences in my life when I was growing up was a command sergeant major in the Army. It was my grandfather. And so I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Montana, in a family owned restaurant and bar. And he kind of taught me that those who can should, whether that was helping out in the community, different charity events, volunteer opportunities, or just owning your responsibility as a man. And um, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of that story because it really gets into why I founded some of the businesses that I own today. And it was growing up in a family owned restaurant, pretty abusive alcoholic environment. There wasn't a ton of support. And that pushed me down a path of, I sure don't want to take over my family's business, as I watched them in a lifestyle industry working 16, 18-hour days, no real scale opportunity, and pursued athletics as my ticket out, only to end up having my dreams of being a professional quarterback dashed by breaking my hip when I was a senior in high school, which then put me down, okay, well, what am I going to do financially? So I pursued a degree in finance at the University of Montana with an end goal of being an investing consultant, and figured I'd work my way up the corporate pyramid of an investment firm, then build some connections, branch out, do my own thing. And my freshman year, 5 weeks in, got assaulted by 4 football players on campus, got my jaw broken, wired shut, had to withdraw medically from school, and hit rock bottom. I went from 175 pounds of athlete to 130 pounds of skin and bone in 7 weeks. Lost my income, lost a relationship, sense of security, which forced me back into my hometown. But I'd also lost my identity because I went from 175 pounds to 130. So 45 pounds lost in 6, 7 weeks. And the only thing that didn't stop in that whole time frame was my bills. So started to play poker to pay my bills, Ended up clearing my first six figures at the age of 19 in the gambling industry. And that's when I joke I found out rock bottom had a basement. Um, I took my low self image, added a bunch of alcohol and drugs to it, and found myself at the worst end of that equation, which led to the decision to change my life, clean up my life. And then when I was given the opportunity to take in the kids, I jumped at it and then purchased my first traditional business within that same 6 month window of taking on the kids. So
Wow, what a story. So what was that first business?
that was actually the poker room that I used to play and deal at. So full circle moment for me. Ended up buying it. So now I'm 20 years old, trying to learn how to be a husband, trying to navigate how to be a dad and the foster adoptive scrutiny of the state, and 10 to 15 employees on payroll from a new company that I didn't know at the time how to do any business valuation. I didn't know business modeling, how to even read a P&L. I just know how to work really hard. So now I had grossly overpaid for a failing lifestyle type business with no revenue model in place, and had to turn it around and kind of trial by fire as I was the sole income earner of the family with new kids. So
And how did you survive that mental wise? Was it the stoic mindset? What type of mental models did you have at that rock slash basement bottom?
yeah, I think it was just a no quit mentality of I don't actually believe they're the problems. I think there's solutions we just haven't found yet. And I applied a work habit to just finding what the next solution was and seeking out advice from people that could help me. And I was blessed. I ran into some business owners out of Seattle that took me under their wing and started to mentor and coach me. And that's ultimately what led into me wanting to found Champion Empire. Was I wanted to build an organization that could have supported me back when I was 20 at affordable rates. And so um, I think it was that relentless pursuit of wisdom from other people and no quit mentality on anything that was worthwhile or helping.
What was your relationship with debt at this time? Was it weighing heavy on you? Was it causing a lot of stress, or were you leveraging it to buy greater things?
Yeah, at that point, I went into bootstrap and getting to um, just straight revenue and cash flow. So there's two kind of methods, right? There's the people that either close up shop or just keep living and scratching out a mediocre existence, or those that kind of sell their way out of it. And I just figured, okay, well, let's go generate some revenue, and made that happen. So at the time, I had zero debt of any kind in that and no real people to loan me money. So it was just, let's go make it happen. And I cash flowed it myself. Um, yeah. So it was non existent at the time.
And years into that business, you had twins, and then you had numerous medical and personal challenges that ravaged the family. So tell us about the next part of the story.
Yeah. Well, I found myself full circle now working 16, 18-hour workdays, just like my family had that I was trying to avoid. And had it not been for the business owners out of Seattle that took me under their wing, I probably would have, who knows where I'd have been. So ended up um, getting out of that business and selling it and moved over to Spokane where I'm at today. But in that transition, ended up going through a divorce and had a gal who basically decided she was going in a different direction with her life. And that turned me into a single dad with six kids. When I remarried, I ended up having twins and almost lost my son to RSV in the hospital at 3 months. 65,000 of uninsurable medical expenses in 1 quarter. Almost lost my wife at the time in the hospital around the same time frame. So at the peak of it, I was working part time to try to help add some more supplemental income, running a business on the side, and or any kind of sales that I could do to generate income. 5 kids at home, 1 kid in the hospital, and a sick wife. Um, and that's really when I started to monetize a little bit more of coaching, consulting, advising, supporting small businesses. But I also had the challenge going against me of I'm an introvert. So situationally extroverted would be the term I would use. and I didn't want anybody to know who I was, which, as you know, is not a great marketing strategy.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like I'm asking myself, like, how did you go through these periods? Just like sheer willpower? Do you have any mechanism to let go of all that stress that you've accumulated over the years?
Yeah, I'm learning through some of the great association I have now today that the body really does keep the score, and there's different ways that I need to let some of that stress out at a cellular level. But a large portion of it was just a relentless future vision. Like, I'm not good at very many things, but I'm really good at creating clarity in what that future position can look like, and then building it into an action plan. And being a systems minded guy, I could go, well, if as long as I'm taking this next step, eventually I'll get there. So instead of trying to make it too far down the road, I knew this is what I need to do today to get to the next step. But I could still hold on to that affirmative affirmation of this is what it will look like at some point. And while it doesn't always look perfect, you kind of get to the other side.
And your clients, when they come and see you, what kind of issues do they have? Are they not sure if they're gonna make it to the other side? What tools do you equip them so that they can go through this tough reality, this tough life that most of us humans go through?
Yeah, it's a great question. It would depend on which business we talk about. That way, when we have our different client bases that we serve or avatars per company, but the essence is the first one is a 5E model. So we teach kind of 5 E's that everybody needs to have in their self journey, their self development journey for them, their team, and then their impact in the community. And the first one would be empowerment. They have to be empowered to actually know that they can influence the outcome, get rid of limiting beliefs. A lot of people that have a low self image and feel like they can't make a difference. The second one is education. We have to educate them on what they don't know that they don't know. And that's an ever evolving category, which then gets into equipping, where we have to then help them get the right tools and knowledge and resources that they need, connections even. And then the fourth one would be this encouragement. And that's a piece of the human connection where no matter how technologically advanced we get as a society, I think there's still a need for that human connection. And then the fifth one that helps us supercharge the results with people that we work with is an evaluation. And that's the different scorecards you could put in your spiritual, social, emotional, physical, and financial life to then strategically build the right competencies to move forward, regardless of what your goal is, whether that's you want to be a better husband, a better father, a better business leader, or just grow the P&L and make an extra um, money to the bottom line at the end of the year.
Who are your clients normally? What are their size of business? What industry? And how do you get in touch with them?
Yeah, so our clients, Champion Empire is a collection of companies that has Champion Empire and Champion Partners as a peer, that then has equity positions and other support organizations and companies. And then we really laid out in 2020 a 10-year plan to fundamentally move the needle on poverty and injustice. And with that, we match everybody from startups or idea phase organizations and individuals all the way to $100 million businesses and above. But if we niched into like our coaching offering, it's primarily that $500,000 to $5 million entrepreneur that doesn't really have a group of people or a support mechanism to help them, or they might have been frustrated where they brought in a marketing consultant on one side and then a fractional CFO or an HR person, and none of those people necessarily talk together. And so we created a environment where all of those subject matter expertise were under one roof with a basic funding model or a basic subscription model that allows them access to whatever resource they need at any given point. How we find them currently is oftentimes word of mouth, and we're in the process of a digital rebuild so that we have everything accurately conveyed online. But word of mouth referrals, and then speaking engagements or workshop type funnels.
Speaking of speaking engagements, how do you get on 5,000 well, 1,000, sorry, not 5,000. That'd be pretty epic, but how do you get on 1,000 plus events? Like, is it just delivering great speeches and word of mouth, or do you have a system to get invited on all of these events?
Yeah, so I mean, that's when you start doing the math on it, that's basically two events a week for a consistent period of time, speaking to almost anybody that will listen. And some of those engagements are like the small Rotary Club that has 8 people, up to large events, workshops, arenas with a couple hundred, up to stadium size with 8 to 10,000 or above. And I think for me, it was just this willingness to be generous, which is one of our visions of to foster more generosity than any other leadership network. So while some of those are a decent amount of those are paid engagements where somebody hears the story and they know that that will help, a lot of those are more just sharing principles and things from the heart. So it was speaking to anybody that had a group that wanted to be better, faster, stronger, smarter, more capable. I would also say that I did build a system in my calendaring and prioritizing to where it would vary in different seasons. So it didn't actually work out like this many a week for a period of time. There were some times where I'd do 2 or 3 in a day or 5 in a day and then none for a period.
What about the charitable side nowadays? How do you balance that with the money making side of your business?
Yeah, right. So I think that there's a model that works where there's a for profit model and a not for profit model, and philanthropy would be where those converge. Where my goal would be that everything I do generates some level of profit motive behind it, knowing that then I'll spin off enough of that into social purpose causes or other things. And so we at any of our businesses channel a percentage of direct resources and funds that come in back into the community, and we let people know that, like, by just even being a client of ours, you're able to give to these causes and help this 1,000 kids get a Christmas, or these ones get school supplies, or end this part of hunger, or help this third world country. And we have a different way that we disperse the funds. But um, I think that philanthropy is better than charity in a sense of it's not just writing the check, it's strategically investing those resources into things that will spin out longer term impact. And I actually, right before coming on with you today, I got a message from one of a great friend and a client that said, "Hey, my mom and I volunteered at an event with Ashley House, which is a nonprofit in our local area that works with medically fragile children. So they volunteered today, and the executive director and I were talking about how we got connected through Champion and how you use the power of your influence to connect people who are working to do good. We're both grateful for you and the work that Champion does." And so it's the more value we add into the market, the more profitable we are. And as long as those businesses are also helping these organizations, it's a win win win, like everywhere around.
Tell me about marketing toolkit. Is that like a white labeled tool, or did you build that full thing yourself?
No, it was a white labeled tool. And with just any of the kind of branding, and as any kind of a distributor of any kind of product, then you build your brand. And the brand that we're really building there is far less about a technology stack, even though that's great. It's far more about the wraparound services that would help somebody implement that and be successful. So when a small organization, when we recommend that they should have an email newsletter or drip campaign sequence, or any of the landing pages and or the ways that they can communicate with individuals, it's one thing to say you should do that. It's another one to say you should do that, and here's a team that can implement it if you don't have it. And I know you offer some great resources just like that, which are, hey, I'll teach you how to do this, or I'll help some done for you and done with you services as well. And that's kind of our model there with that brand.
Roger that. And what would be your top goals for this year, your top three?
Yeah, top three is my top number one goal would be to find a way that as a founder of numerous organizations that I can condense all of my personal goals into one because I get very attached to things. And so that's actually an ongoing conversation with us. We just had a 2 day to help me boil down what's on my plate as a CEO in all these organizations. The second one is to continue to strengthen the team. We've leveraged some really great tools to continue to build and provide opportunities to people to change the world with us and continuing to strengthen that team so we can do it better, faster, more efficient, and continue to let those opportunities provide. And then the third one would be to continue to enjoy and carve out more time that I'm spending or investing with my children. And what I do with that is historically set quality time days where I'll invest an hour with each one of my kids independently, unrestricted. But then now we're getting into some of the quantity time days, right? Which is where we can actually have some good quality, but for an extended period of time. We're going to take a Disney World trip, which will be our third one as a family in the last handful of years, and just go and enjoy that together.
Fantastic. Well, Jesse, thanks for today. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, you can go to championempire.net or feel free to reach me directly on my LinkedIn profile, which is just my name as a handle, or Jesse at championempire.net as an email, and I'm fairly responsive there.